Lane Hatcher, the Arkansas State quarterback, is ranked number 10 in the country by Pro Football Focus heading into the season. Just what does he bring it to the table as a passer? And maybe what is, if there is a luxury, what is the luxury of being able to face him one game before you face Spencer Rattler?
Well, there's no luxury, I'll tell you that. I'd say what makes him really scary is he extends plays. Very pocket aware, I'd say. The other thing that makes him really effective is his accuracy is really good. He throws a tremendously accurate deep ball, hits guys in stride, and is able. He's got very good vision. The ball goes where it should based on the coverage, and he's usually right. Little bit of a risk taker sometimes, and most of the time that paid off for him.
How about
that he's that high in Pro Football Focus? I didn't know that.
How about your defensive secondary? How is that shaping up? How are those guys looking?
Good. As guys get more and more comfortable, and I think of guys like Keandre Thomas, I think of guys like Ryan Hennington, guys that weren't part of it last year, either because they weren't here or didn't play the position. Jerron McPherson playing a new position. Those guys are doing a really good job. I think across the board, we're getting more comfortable with the package, the way that it's taking shape. We're not built the same way that we were a year ago, personnel-wise. We have strengths in other areas that maybe we weren't strong in last year. We have weaknesses maybe in areas where I wouldn't say weaknesses, but we have, maybe we're not as proficient in some areas as we were a year ago. And so we have to adapt to that. And those young guys that fit right in, or new guys, I should say.
Thank you.
Kurtz.
Yeah, Joe, to piggyback off that a little bit, what are those strengths that you feel like this unit has that maybe you didn't have as much of last year?
I think we're better in man coverage than we were a year ago. I think we can cover people better. I think we get after the passer better. I think guys understand their roles better. I think of a guy like Drew Wiley, a guy like Eli Huggins. Their role is, and they, who knows, they may end up with double-digit sacks, but that's not what their role is in our scheme. Their role is to dominate up front and be tremendous run defenders. And I think people, as we define those roles for those guys a little bit more, are getting more used to and taking a lot more pride in them. And so, we have some guys that come in to rush the passer. That's what they do. That's their role, and they're taking pride in that role, and they're mastering their craft in that role. We have some guys that might come in to do this job or that job. I'm pretty big on personnelling as many things as we can, and getting guys in to do what they do best.
I want to ask about Justin Hughes also. Do you feel like right now he's back at the point where he's close to 100% coming back from that knee? How fast does he look moving up there?
Yeah, I was actually talking about that yesterday. It's funny you say that, because early in camp, I thought a lot about his knee. Personally, I did. I was like, geez, I wonder how that's going to affect his knee. I didn't really maybe necessarily notice it in his movements, but it was always on my mind. Is it bothering him? Is it something that's in his mind? The last week and a half or so, I haven't thought about it once. You wouldn't know it. He's back in there communicating like he has been, like the Justin Hughes of old, running around, changing direction, making some plays like he should.
Thanks, Joe.
Kels.
Hey, Joe, some people maybe were surprised to see Brock Monty as the captain. You guys have talked him up all offseason as a big leader, but what is it about him that you think stands out and makes him a person worthy of being a captain right now?
Part of being a leader is not being afraid to speak up. And I think in today's day and age, a lot of people are afraid to speak up about this or that. They don't want to be the not cool guy. They don't want to be the guy that might rock the boat a little bit with a teammate. Sometimes it's okay to get after somebody as long as you're doing it in a positive way, and Brock is not afraid to say things to people. We have some guys that I think are good leaders by example. I don't know if being a leader by example is necessarily being a leader. I think being a leader is getting people to buy into the vision that we have, and Brock does that on a daily basis.
And do you personally have any nerves about stepping into the booth and being the defensive coordinator for the first time in a while?
I don't think so, honestly. I don't. I kind of always, I don't know. I'm a type A kind of a guy, I guess. And I kind of like having, I like the call to be mine. You know what I mean? I like the responsibility to be mine. And I learned a tremendous amount from Scotty Hazelton. I think he's phenomenal and one of the smartest guys I've ever been around. I still like taking the con a little bit, and I like the buck to stop with me as much as I can. So no, I guess not really.
Also, do you like sitting up top or being on the field during games?
You know, it's been so long time since I've been on the field. I guess I like being on the field. I'm probably going to call the game from up top. It might just fit our staff situation a little bit better.
Ryan Black.
Hey, Joe, how you doing today?
Fantastic.
Hey, well, you brought up Ryan Hennington. You know, he's a guy who came to K-State as a quarterback, and he had a pretty good high school career just down the road in Junction City. So, how was it that his position change came about, and what's impressed you about him? You know, making this move to defense from quarterback.
We knew he was a good athlete. That was apparent even last year when he was the scout team quarterback. You know, especially when we were preparing for Navy. I mean, the guy was changing direction. I mean, really, fluid in his movements. We had some success at North Dakota State with some guys that were maybe high school quarterbacks or even guys that we brought in as quarterbacks playing in the secondary. To do what we do, it takes a fair amount of brains. And, quarterbacks typically have that, or, it's a kind of a prerequisite of being in that position. And so his work ethic is what got him to where he is right now. I mean, he came in and he knew, with Skyler and, some of the situation there, he's like, if I'm a quarterback, I'm happy to be that, but I don't know if you guys will ever use me on special teams. If that's the deal, I wouldn't mind being somewhere where I can be used. And he came in as kind of came into myself and Coach Klanderman, and it was more or less his idea to approach us with it rather than the other way around. And it's paid off. I mean, I can't imagine a guy working harder in January, February, March to learn what he's doing. And it seems like, knowledge-wise, it seems like he's been playing that position for over a year. Now, there's still some things on the field that just picture-wise he needs to continue to see so he can react to them quicker. But as far as knowing what to do, he's on point there.
And then secondly, it seemed last year that Scotty really had high expectations for Cody Fletcher, and it just seemed like kind of an early season injury seemed to derail him a little bit and slow him down. He doesn't get talked about as much as maybe Justin or Eli, but do you have a sense that he's really motivated to bounce back this season?
He doesn't, and he should. He's a really good football player, and a very good leader in his own right, and a very consistent, solid guy day to day. You're right. He doesn't get talked about, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because he's missed some of that time, but he will be a huge part of the lineup this year.
Hey, Coach. First of all, your Hazelton beard is off to a sluggish start.
It's not good, is it? It's a little bit there.
It's really got some work to do before the next Saturday. Back to those linebackers. You're pretty darn good there. I mean, out of necessity, Eli had to move to the middle. Now you get Justin back. You got Green a year older and Fletcher. How dynamic and how smart are you at linebacker?
Really, really far along in the package with those older guys, particularly. There's a lot to it now, and so there's some freshmen and stuff that have a ways to go that we're excited about their future also. But as far as being as depth, you could argue that we go as deep as 6 there when you throw Nick Allen in the mix and Levi Archer in the mix. Austin Moore in the mix. There's 7 guys that you wouldn't feel bad about being in the game at any point in time.
Last one here, Derek Young.
Hey, Coach. I know that Khalid Duke and Felix and the DK had a lot of buzz early on in fall camp. How much have they been able to kind of continue that ascent upwards?
And I talked to the defense the other day, and I just, as an example, I said Khalid Duke, along with Eli Huggins, are probably 2 of the most improved players, probably the most 2 improved players on the football team. So Khalid has not slowed down one bit. I'm excited for him to get out there and get going. Felix hasn't slowed down either. The issue with Felix is, as we've learned how good of a player he is, we've tried to continue to expand his role. And putting him in different packages, putting him in different situations. And so mentally we're hampering him a little bit. And we'll start to scale that back now that we've gotten into full-fledged game prep mode. but we're trying to push Felix along as much as we can. I mean, he's going to be a part of the plan this year for sure.